Am I a wild woman for wanting to be free because I have the audacity to be free? Lilith, in her defiant glory, whispered to me to not take you at face value. Deception lurks, but rather it lunges, and I caught all of Eve's apples right on my tongue. Lilith and me, we devoured thee. Every worm stuck in seeds we set free, because that is more of what this world needs. And when I think of freedom, I think of my beloved fucking me into ecstasy, into oblivion. Lilith on the wall, we meet her there, crawling in pleasure, perched and persistent, eyes rolling back and toes curling, all sound like cliches until fires ignited. These are all side effects of pleasure, the expression of rippling orgasms. When I taste myself on you, Lilith is pleased. This is what she fought for. This is what she lived for. This is what she died for.
Hello, my soul babies, and welcome to Satin Soulbits, the podcast on sex, wellness, and womanhood. Today we have Marisa Silva Dunbar. She is the editor-in-chief of Neon Mariposa magazine, and she is a Latina poet, and her work has been published in Work to a Calm, Chanterelle's Notebook, and I'm pretty sure many, many others. She is a contributing writer for my coven collective, Pussy Magic, and she writes amazing goddess poems. So welcome, Marisa, to Satin Soulbits.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Today we are talking about goddesses and goddess archetypes. So we're really excited to share that with you guys. So how are you doing today, my love?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am also well. It's been kind of a whirlwind, but I'm really excited to be doing this. So thank you for being here. And yeah, so Marisa, why don't you tell us about your goddess poems that you've been writing for Pussy Magic?
I've been picking goddesses from around the world. I kind of rely on the Olympian pantheon, but I've been going beyond that to Norse mythology and Mexican gods recently with Xochiquetzal.
Yeah.
But I really like to, the goddess poem started years ago when I was in a kind of really angry place, like life was not going as planned, and I started writing about discord, like if the goddess discord was a person, how would she appear to me? What would she be like now? And it came back last year when we were talking, and that's how the idea sprouted. And it's, what would these goddesses be up to now? What would they be like? I kind of like the idea that they're in existence somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's nice to have someone to kind of relate to or look up to or find some kind of guidance in that, or grounding, to where you can be like, okay, I need some advice. Like when I was going through a rough period in a relationship, that's when I wrote about Hera, meeting with Hera during Venus retrograde.
Yes, I love that poem.
So it was like, what conversation would I have with her? And I know she's considered very vengeful, but I think she can also be healing if you are struggling, and having her speak back to me as saying, like, you will be okay. Like, whatever is going on with these other people, you need to find your own strength. And so
yes, it's empowering.
Yes. And so I really like to kind of have a conversation with them and look to them, like, whatever's going on in my life, like, what advice can they offer me?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I agree that it is really cool to think of them as if they're here somewhere. Because I feel like, in a sense, as women or anyone who identifies with the feminine energy, it's kind of like, to me, I like to think that they all kind of live inside of us, because there are all these archetypes that have these powerful stories behind them, and every single woman I encounter has an important story to tell. And that's partly why I'm so passionate about writing and storytelling and Pussy Magic and all the stuff that I'm doing. And it's brilliant. And so I love that you connect those and bring them kind of down to earth for us and bring them, you add a humanity. What I love about them, you add this humanity, like, for example, with Hera, like sipping tea and she lights a cigarette. I mean, it brings them down to being more human in a way while still maintaining their goddess kind of energy where they're inspiring us, but they're also communing with us. And I know that, not to go slightly off topic, but my favorite kind of oracle cards were goddess cards for a long time because I liked feeling that connection to them in that capacity as well.
Yes.
So,
I'm thinking we might have the same deck because I think it's the Doreen Virtue one. Oh, I have two goddess decks now that I think about it.
Yes, I have the Doreen Virtue one, the one with the yellow cover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the blue one, do you have that one where like the queens and the princesses are higher than the kings and princes?
What? No, but I need to look at that deck because I love collecting decks, whether it's tarot decks or oracle or whatever it is. I love I have a mini collection, and every time I go to any kind of metaphysical store, I am always drawn to, kind of like people get drawn to crystals, I get drawn to tarot decks. Like, I love tarot decks. I just think they're so much fun.
They are.
They really are. And I have, I recently, finally, I was meaning to get it forever, but I got the Isis Oracle deck.
I've seen that one.
It's beautiful, and I love the Isis Oracle deck. It's really in depth, so you kind of have to have time to go through everything if you want to like get all you can out of it. But before I got the Isis deck, that I've been planning to get it forever. But before that, I found a book called Magic of Isis, and it is so awesome. It's basically the deck, but it takes out all the tarot and
I'm writing it down.
the detail. Yeah, write it down. It takes out all. I'll send you a picture of it too later.
Okay, cool.
Anyone listening should also look up Magic of Isis by Alana Fairchild. So she's the one who does the Oracle deck and the book.
Okay.
And the book takes out the details of the oracles themselves, but it includes all of the incantations and prayers that are in that oracle deck.
Oh, wow.
And so what I used to do before I had the deck, and I kind of used the deck for a little while, but it's a little detailed, so I actually kind of preferred the book. And I would just flip through the book like I would, like anyone would shuffle the tarot, and then I would open it up and just read that incantation or that prayer for the day.
Oh, wow.
Because it was kind of powerful for me. Actually, recently I've been reading one over and over and over again because I resonated with it so strongly and I really wanted to embody it, and I've just been reading that one over and over instead of doing the surprise myself every day. Yes. I love connecting with them, and I think they're so powerful. And I wanted to talk, I guess, we could talk a little more about Lilith because I think it's interesting that she is referred to as a demon at times. Mm-hmm. And I think that she's so relatable for women who are seeking a kind of liberation and freedom from confinement that we find ourselves in society.
Well, I mean, like back in the 90s, they had the Lilith Fair. I'm kind of sad that it went away. I mean, I guess maybe it could be more inclusive if it came back, because now that I think about it, it was mostly white women.
I was going to say we should bring it back.
We should.
That would be awesome. It was just a concert, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was like a little festival. I totally want Beyonce to headline it and just... Oh
my God, that would be amazing.
Yes, right?
So many... I could think of so many people.
Yes.
Janelle Monáe, my favorite.
Oh my gosh,
Lady Gaga. Yes. Solange would be good too.
Mm-hmm.
In reference to Lilith being a demon, it says here on this article that she defies patriarchy, refuses a submissive sexual posture, and in the end refuses marriage altogether, preferring to become a demon rather than live under Adam's authority. Kind of interesting that because she refused to live under Adam's authority that she has to become a demon versus just being freed. And yeah, I think it's interesting that she refused to be submissive. I had to relax into submission, not as a place of being inferior, but as a place of allowing myself to receive.
I really like that.
Yeah, and I think that that's something, and I think that Lilith is so strong as an archetype that she's inspiring us to really embody ourselves and our sexual power and
Mm-hmm.
our feminine power and our balance of our masculine power too, because Lilith is actually very masculine in energy.
Oh,
if
yes.
you look at those archetypes. So I kind of find that fascinating, that these male, Adam and God, kind of in a way refuted their own masculine energy and denying Lilith of her freedom.
They couldn't handle the equality.
By denying her freedom, they're kind of denying their own freedom, because they're not allowing that exploration. They're staying stuck in what they know and their stories in their mind and their paradigms of what they believe is right. And so I think that's actually a great metaphor for what we can all do or not do now, by allowing ourselves freedom. In a way, we all can go one or the other way with that story, and be the own Adam to ourselves and kind of hinder ourselves. And so I think that maybe we all have a little in all of us, and the idea is that the more comfort we allow ourselves in, breaking free of what is given to us to confine us, that, we kind of eases the blow a little bit, and maybe, makes being free less scary if we don't deny it so harshly to ourselves, if that makes sense at all. And I think that through your poems and anyone writing, or however we create, whether it's art or music or whatever you're doing, that it's inspiring to, that's where we should let ourselves be free.
Definitely. And I think when you were talking about God and Adam and being stuck, it totally made me think of toxic masculinity,
Exactly.
not allowing themselves to, like you said, explore. And I kind of feel like Lilith, I mean, she refused to be submissive, but I kind of feel like her archetype is so free with sexuality that you do not have to be stuck in one or the other, submissive or dominant. And
exactly. Yes.
And like you said, if God and Adam had been more open, who knows how that would have been interpreted but I kind of feel like her being a demoness was definitely the victors or the men writing history and saying, we can't have this. So their agenda was already at play then.
Yeah. And I love that you just said demoness. That's awesome.
Oh, thanks.
Yes, no, I love that. Okay, so that brings us into another new thing, which I love, is that, we're not always submissive or dominant, and you can explore that in sex with your partner, whoever, being different. I mean, that's the fun thing, right? The play on passing that ball back and forth of which, I don't want to say identity, but which kind of mask you're going to put on. And then it could even be gone in 30 seconds and you could swap masks. It's really, that's the play of sex and sexuality, really. So that's cool, because you just reminded me also that I was thinking the other day that in sex, when I know that we really put gender roles play such a part in how we generally define sex. And I really hope that people take a more active approach to their sex mentally, analyze themselves in a way where they can see, am I playing into this, or would I rather be doing that? Or, can I be more open-minded? Because even if you're somebody who is on the kind of outskirts of those thoughts, sometimes even if you're on those outskirts, you still can play into something that keeps you confined, or keeps you kind of in one mode instead of exploring. And so I think it's all really important for us to explore. And I think that the quick thought, that when men can really surrender themselves into sex in a healthy manner, their feminine energy thrives, which can allow women to have a masculine approach at times. And actually, I think it allows sometimes women to even be even more feminine and surrender into their own feminine energy, because sometimes what we need is that person who makes us feel safe enough to really surrender into that.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. I think there needs to be that trust to have that intimacy, to let go of whatever kind of confines we keep ourselves to. Like, you're not going to necessarily want to explore with someone where you're going to feel that judgment, or there isn't that communication and trust there where you feel that safety to let go.
Yes. I mean, that really just creates blocks, and it's
Yes.
funny because I think that those blocks can carry, I've experienced that, where blocks and trauma carry into the next person. And then, you're with someone that you feel safe with and you want to surrender to and you feel really good about. And then you can't, because these things pop up. And, whether it's trauma or memories or fear, fear of being
Yes.
judged. I dealt with fear of being judged for, up until recently, probably, because I felt like most people that I had been with had, or at least, maybe not the most people I had been with, but the first few, and those are kind of the most important because they really set the tone for the rest.
Yes.
And I felt incredibly judged by the first two. So that really set the tone for a while, and it's been pretty amazing to experience the opposite, but it takes so much work to get there.
I agree. I was recommended this book called Healing Sex, which is for trauma survivors, and how to have a sexual experience where they are connecting with their partner now and connecting with their own body. I haven't finished it, but I think I would think it's important for anyone who's experienced trauma to read.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So for everyone listening, sorry, really quick, it's called Healing Sex, A Mind-Body Approach to Healing Sexual Trauma, and it's by Stacey Haynes. Is that the right one?
Yes, it is.
Okay, yeah, so, that's great.
Yeah, and I think that some of what I read has been really, really helpful, because when you have experienced trauma, we can disassociate or not really engage, and you can't have that safety isn't always there, and so we have to kind of work for it or find ways to connect to it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. I would go into more of that, but there will be other episodes addressing those issues.
Yes.
And so, because I have things to say on it and I don't want to.
No, I completely understand.
No, it's totally fine. It's great to bring up. It's really important, and it I think that it ties into what we were talking about before with Lilith and all them. I think it's, and especially, I mean, this whole podcast is about sex and womanhood, and I think, unfortunately, the pattern that I have seen with everybody that I have talked to in preparation for this podcast has experienced trauma, and I always say this, that, there's the statistic that 1 in 3 women have been assaulted, and I am 99% sure, due to my experiences, conversations with other women, and how everyone has a story, I'm pretty sure that's 1 in 1. I don't think 1 in 3 is accurate. Maybe 1 in 2, but I'm pretty sure that majority of women, if not all, have experienced on some level or scale of trauma. We all have stories to tell, whether it's harassment or, as bad as assault. And it is definitely, I know already that it's going to come up in many episodes, and I think it's great to hear different people's perspectives. So if there's anything else you want to share on that, please feel free. I will just keep probably a little more in for other episodes, but
no, that's fine. Like, I just thought
I really appreciate you sharing that book title. I think that will probably help a lot of people. And I see here in the description that it is an encouraging sex-positive guide for all women survivors of sexual assault, heterosexual, bisexual, lesbian, coupled, single. It seems like it touches on a lot of different identities, and so that is also great. Since you've been reading it, do you feel like it does?
I think so. I think it focuses more on the individual, like, initially, and then, it has advice for, like, how to connect with your partner, like things you can do to make it a more enriching experience.
Okay, great. That's awesome. It's so important. And I think that the key to everything that we've talked about in this episode is finding a partner who feels safe. or
Yes.
multiple partners or whatever
Yes.
your gig is. It's about being with people or a person that really makes you feel safe, not only physically but emotionally, because we have to express ourselves even sometimes in the middle of sex. You have to be like, whoa, wait, I need to, this is happening in my brain
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
And and some people would be like, okay, like what the fuck, I'm trying to get off here.
Yeah.
I don't need you interrupting me. And those are the kind of people you want to stay far, far away from.
Exactly.
And then there's people who are going to be like, okay, what's going on? Are you okay? And those
Yes.
are the kind of people that you keep around.
Yes.
Unless, there's another reason not to keep them around. But
yeah.
But you guys know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So, not to completely revert back to what we were talking about, but I am curious because I was just thinking about it, it popped in my head. Who is your favorite goddess so far that you've written about, that you feel most connected to, or?
I probably would go with Persephone because.
Oh, really?
Yes, I know. It's
That's actually not what I was expecting. No, but I'm excited. Go on.
Okay. Probably because I think there was a lot of her not having her own voice within the story. Like, I feel like we focus more on Hades or her mother's reaction, and I kind of feel like Persephone doesn't really have a say, and I think I felt that way for a long time. So writing for her has kind of been this release. Like, it's helped me kind of figure things out, like in my head. So I really liked writing for her. I have liked the process of getting to know other goddesses, like Xochitl. Was that the one you thought? Or no?
Yes, that's exactly who I thought. And because she was the last one. So for everyone who's listening and doesn't know this, because I forgot to bring this up earlier, I said that Marisa writes goddess poetry for Pussy Magic. But if you want to actually go read them, the website for Pussy Magic is pussymagicheals.com. And then just go to the Musings tab. And under the tab, all of our blog categories show up. And there is a whole tab separated for goddess poems by Marisa. So feel free to go read those. And then, so that way, even while you're listening, you can go, read while you listen and keep up with our conversation. So go ahead. Sorry. Just wanted to let everyone catch on.
And I did sneak some, I think I snuck in Selene and the goddess Selene in your All Hallows Eve issue. So.
Oh, I will have to go back and look at that because
yeah.
There were so many poems in that issue that I can't remember them all.
Yeah, it was the Moon and the Trickster. Though. Yes.
Okay, yes.
So yeah, but I really like Xochitl because I didn't know much about her before I had to write about her. And
do you want to tell us a little bit about her for those who don't know?
I do.
She does smell of cinnamon and vanilla. So.
Yes, she does. And she wears jade and silver bangles.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
Yes, but I really found her they actually had a whole interesting ritual with her where the sacrifice would be flayed and the priestess would wear her skin. So so not as a representation, but she was like the goddess of love. And I really wanted to not go with Aphrodite because that goddess poem was coming around Valentine's Day. And I felt like Aphrodite would have been too obvious. And I wanted to explore beyond that. And I felt like Xochitl had a little more weight for what I was looking for. Like,
yes,
I felt like she could heal the heartbroken and also inspire love. And I really liked writing for her. Like, it was at a time when I really needed that. I needed someone I think I even wrote about being a sacrifice in her poem. So, and
yeah, you did.
Yes, I did. So
no, it's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I really feel this like fierceness, like a loving fierceness from her that I don't feel from Aphrodite.
Yes.
Aphrodite's much more like, gentle. I don't want to say motherly because I don't, she's not like Mary Magdalene, but she does have a much more soft kind of passive, maybe passive is the wrong word, receptive kind of energy. And I don't get that from her. Like, I get this very fierce, like boundaries are strong. She's open,
Yes.
but she knows what she wants, what she needs, what she's going to do. You know, there's this
Yes.
much more kind of embodied, empowered feeling from her. So I love that.
Yes. It's kind of funny because Aphrodite, I used to watch Xena, so I always think of her as this valley girl in lingerie.
That's cute. That's actually kind of fitting, I feel like.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes.
That's awesome.
If you can, I think Xena's on Hulu, so check it out.
I haven't seen Xena since I was a kid, but holy crap, that is like a blast from the past in my brain right now. I did see it's on Hulu. I'm gonna have to watch one just for fun, just to like
Yes.
little throwback.
I feel like
crazy.
the second and third season were really good.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was Xena Prime. But
yeah, I'll have to check it out. My mom used to put it on, and that's my memory of it. And Hercules, like they were kind of in the same time. Too funny.
Yes. The thing about Hercules that kind of disappointed me is that one of my favorite characters on Xena, and she crossed over into Hercules, was Callisto. And I remember there was she was on an episode of Hercules, and I guess Kevin Sorbo kind of got upset. He's like, oh, Callisto wouldn't have a chance to hit him because he's Hercules or something like that. So I was kind of like, oh, great. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think, I really liked Sochi Quetzal because I really wanted that strength for that poem.
Yeah, and it really worked.
Thank you.
Everyone go read that poem. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
All the goddess poems, I seriously am like obsessed with them. I actually want you to make a book of them, like just the goddess poems, because I think they're...
I do have that idea. I'm saving them on in a Google folder so that when they do get all together, they can become a manuscript. Yeah.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. So I totally interrupted you about Persephone, so we can get back to... Do you want to read that poem?
I do. Let me get it. Okay. So this is Persephone. The queen and her king make their home in the barrio with their 3 pit bulls. He spends his days out on the road, riding a Dinah Street bob, collecting wandering souls. She dances around their bungalow in onyx thigh-highs and midnight lace romper, and a short burgundy kimono decorated with pearl-colored lotus blossoms, smoking a blunt with Lana Del Rey on the stereo. Persephone is long, inky black bed hair, a curl wrapped around her finger, stiletto nails in NARS jungle red, stacked silver rings that she fiddles with when waiting. She lounges in the solarium, her honey built for her, reading Anais Nin, filled with longing, wanting him home now. At night, she's barefoot in baby pink satin slip, sitting on his lap, pouting for more kisses and cuddles. She's eager, begging please. Persephone is nail and blood marks down his back. Only her sir gets her like this, his tattooed knuckles teasing her. He's a smirk and a bite on her lower lip. She's a sigh of finally being home.
I love it.
Thank you.
I love the visuals that you give us of what she's wearing and her, how she dresses herself with her red nails. Mm-hmm. And then I remember this sticking out to me when I first published this, and it just did again now. And it ties totally into what we've been talking about when you say, only her sir gets her like this. Because I always think, it's kind of what I was talking about earlier, when you find that person that you feel safe with.
Yes.
And women know this. When you find someone that you really feel comfortable with and you feel safe with, you become much more uninhibited and open, and it's like this is your person, and they get to see a side of you no one else does. Exactly. And it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for reading that. I love.
Thank you.
And I like that you like you said, you kind of brought her out of that feeling, because you said she didn't really get to have her say. No. And so I like what you did with her, because I have a poem inspired by Persephone in my upcoming book, Mouth Made of Satin, which is why I'm doing this whole podcast. Mine takes more of a revenge perspective of, like, I don't want to spoil too much, but revenge and kind of like, it's a deadly kind of poem. So I just love the mood you set in this one. And
Thank you.
I'll get anything in a bungalow. Like that totally brings me to like any kind of tropical everything. And I just love that.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you for sharing. Do you feel like in her original story that Persephone kind of has this innocence that, that, you know, because she's not given that autonomy?
Definitely. I always felt like she was never, like, she was not seen as a woman at all. Like, even by her mother, like, you know, obviously she's a young woman, but I felt like she did not have any agency over her own body at any point in her story. Like, she belonged to her mother, and then she belonged to Hades, and it wasn't her choice either way, kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I feel like that's unfortunately incredibly relatable, probably for many, many, many women.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I think it's interesting if we look at these two people, Persephone and Lilith, these two goddesses. You know, Lilith being the demoness, and then Persephone being the innocent girl who was kidnapped. It plays into that virgin whore dichotomy.
Yes.
That we can't. Women don't get to be both or fluid, that we are one or the other, and that is how society boxes us up. You're a good girl or a bad girl. You are a like a Britney Spears, Hit Me Baby One More Time, or you are like Rihanna of, you know, I can't even think of an example, but yeah, it's like, why are we it's interesting. Or Lady Gaga, like Lady Gaga in her, like Bloody Mary, or, you know, things like that.
Yes.
It's like, it's, anyway, I'll let you share your thoughts on that, but I think it's interesting that they play into that. And yeah.
I kind of feel like, yeah, I think the goddesses definitely, you know, if we leave them static, they definitely play into that. They're either one or the other. And we're not that simple. Human beings are not that simple. And I kind of feel sometimes even, you know, it's through internalized misogyny that even we kind of play into that. I know I did in the past. Especially
I feel like we all do when we're younger.
Yeah.
Exactly, especially in school, because we're kind of programmed to like play into those things.
Yes.
And I think it's interesting that I brought up pop stars, because I'm thinking pop stars, of course, show us this, and some break out of it in cool ways. Like I would say Lady Gaga does. But for example, like Britney Spears, I mean, she's completely playing into. I mean, they created that character for her, of her being the virgin, the good girl, and so it's kind of like, I just thought of Christina Aguilera when she did.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
What song?
Dirty?
Yes, exactly. Yes. And it was like, it flipped it completely. So it was like, okay, actually, Christina kind of never was the virgin. She had Genie in a Bottle, and that song was pretty risque for 9-year-olds to be singing, which I definitely was. So, so it's kind of interesting because we do, I'll let you continue, but yeah, we do play into that when girls are younger, I think, because we're kind of conditioned or programmed to believe that that's the way. And that's how we move in the world.
I think so. I mean, because I just remember the obsession around whether or not Britney Spears was a virgin or not, which is totally...
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah. But I think, like, hopefully we grow out of it and say, like, okay, no, like, that's not how it is. Like, you can be sexual. It doesn't mean... There's nothing wrong with having sex when you want to, and if you don't want to have sex, like, it's totally up to you. I do think there are some people that still play into it as they're older, like, and it's so kind of limiting, I feel, which is another reason why I feel like having the goddesses is important, because there's some that are completely fluid, and others that, you know, you can find something to identify with. But
absolutely. Well, that's why I love your Persephone poem so much, because you show this other side of her, where it's like, and then you kind of say, like in my favorite line, only her sir gets her like this. It's like, we're allowed to be anything that we want to be, and we don't have to show it to the world for it to be valid for us.
Correct.
And we don't have to, if you're comfortable flaunting your sexuality, feel free. And if you're not, feel free. It's
Yeah.
not about trying to be a certain thing for the world. And it's like, you know, and Persephone had this innocence about her because that's what she was, that's what her part, that's which part of her story was shared with us.
Yes.
And she didn't have the autonomy. So, you know, when she was kidnapped and stuff, it's like, that's violating. And that,
Yes.
and that can be such a metaphor for the things we experience as young girls that we, you know, when older men are staring at us and gawking at us. And it's like, when we're coming into puberty, and it's like, we aren't controlling our narrative at that point because we can't control what our bodies look like.
No.
We do control what we wear. Like me, I didn't even have, you know, I'm not like voluptuous and curvy. I'm pretty thin. But in my mind, and what I experienced, there was still people gawking at me on occasion. I would drown myself in baggy sweatshirts because it protected me from those looks. And so I would wear baggy clothes, and it makes me sad. You know, it's like, the fact that we have to think about these things to even go outside, because, and I can't tell you how many friends I have who are more voluptuous, who are like, well, I'm going to wear this because I don't want my boobs out, because I don't want everyone staring at me.
Yes.
And it's like the fact that you can't even wear a shirt that you want because of what other people are going to respond to. And it's just kind of this, it's so bizarre.
It is like, and I think I've lived on Tumblr for a long time.
Oh, me too.
And I think there was one
Shout out to the Tumblr times.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so sad that it
took a downhill or dive. Yes. Me too. Like, it was so good in like 2008 to 2000.
Yes.
Like 11?
Yes.
Or 12 maybe.
Yeah. We are covering up at a young age. And I think fashion at a young age is like, you are figuring out who you are as a person. And I remember we had to write about classmates my junior year, and someone wrote about me wearing tight tops. And I remember being asked by, oh yeah. And so.
A boy or girl?
It was a boy. Now that,
Well, I would have analyzed it differently if a girl had done it, but that's wow.
Yeah. And I don't know. But like, I remember being asked to change, and like looking back at what I was wearing, like, from my particularly by my dad, and he'd have my mom tell me, but like thinking about like what I was wearing then, like it wasn't even, it doesn't really fucking matter how bad it was. Like it, you know,
right. Because you're learning, you know.
Yeah. And
I can see if it comes from like a protective standpoint, like, hey, maybe wear this because of what other people are doing. I mean, maybe that's not better. I don't really know the solution, and I guess I won't until I have kids, and then I have to deal with that kind of thing. But I feel like we're made to feel too responsible for how we, and I see this conversation still all the time. Women are made to be too responsible for how other people respond to us, or how they treat us. But it's always up to us. It's always our fault. It's always our responsibility because of what we're wearing, how we're acting, blah blah blah. Once again, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but yeah, it's just too much. Well, we can keep talking. I had something to say, but I feel like it's a little off topic.
I kind of want to hear it, though.
Oh, no. Actually, it's actually kind of not that off topic, a little bit, but it goes back to what we were talking about with Persephone and Lilith. Because in the poem that I read in the beginning of this episode, I said it, you know, at the end, I said, this is what she fought for, this is what she lived for, this is what she died for, because Lilith fought for that freedom. And I like to think that it wasn't, you know, I don't think that Lilith just wanted freedom from men and hated all men. That wasn't what she was, that is not what she was like, get me out of here for. She wanted to get away from that kind of thinking and that kind of behavior that Adam and God, and, you know, I don't want to offend religious people, and I'm thinking of these people as characters and archetypes more so. I'm not really criticizing anyone on terms of, you know, believing in God. So I'm not criticizing your God if you're listening. And but I just, as people, you know, in these stories, it's like that whole poem is about, and this is what so much of my upcoming book touches on, is being that free woman and feeling comfortable and safe in our sexuality. And it's like, we can't be free if we don't feel confident and safe and cared for. And I think that our society needs to do a better job of caring for us in those.
I agree.
In that capacity. So just to tie it in a little bit to my poem that I read earlier, because that was all about, you know, experiencing pleasure. And that's what I think, you know, Lilith wants, but it's deeper than that. It's deeper than just having an orgasm or just getting off in sex. It's so much deeper than that. It's about reverence and I'm going to talk about this later, but mutual worship and in that kind of safe, I keep going back to the word safe because that's really all I can keep thinking of is that being safe is really what matters in allowing women to thrive.
I agree. And I think, it is that way for me as well. Like, I need that safety there or that connection to really kind of let myself go.
Right. I mean, and that's why so many people, are so, I see all the time and I love it so much. And that's partly why I created Pussy Magic was to have that safe space.
Yes. I definitely would say it's the safe space.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm glad because that's really all that matters to me is that it feels safe for everyone involved. And it matters that we have these spaces. I don't want to say away from men, but away from the men who don't understand or appreciate or respect us. Because there's so many men that do. And
yes,
I have so many men submit poems to Pussy Magic. And I think that the beautiful thing is majority are not submitting just because it's just another lit mag to throw their poems at.
Oh, yeah.
I think that because I don't get, I would say I get more submissions from women, obviously, or people, non-binary identifying people or femme identifying people rather than men. But the men I do get submissions from, I can tell that they're intentional and know where they're submitting to. And so I think that's beautiful. And that's all very possible. And I think that what's so fun about your poems, your goddess poems, is that they do explore all kinds of different female feminine identities or different, not identities, what's the word?
Facets?
Yeah, exactly. Like the different facets of being a woman because, I mean, we're the most complex creatures on earth and I fucking love it. That's my favorite thing about being a woman is that we have so much room to explore and play because we aren't just like one, can't think of that word either. One,
one-dimensional.
One track. Yeah, one-dimensional. We are not one-dimensional and one-track minded. Like I think we're pretty friggin' awesome.
I think that also has like the safety to figure out who you are, or
yes.
the within yourself even, because I think about when I was younger and I wasn't really sure who I was, and I don't think I felt that safety to like really figure it out. And I know people are afraid of turning 30, and being in my 30s, I just feel so much better because I'm like, no, I know who I am, and yeah, I'm gonna still make mistakes and do stupid things, but I am not a girl. I have earned my womanhood, and I think that's a great thing.
Wait, I'm sorry. You're in your 30s?
I'm in my 30s, yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're so youthful. And I don't mean that as like a compliment or a diss. No. Not that like anyone, not because youth is not an age thing. It's a embodiment of, or part of your personality. But I totally thought you were like 22. And I have said this for so long that I can't wait. I think my 30s are going to be a million times better than my 20s. Mm-hmm. My 20s have been a disastrous mess of figuring out who I am. And and so you are. I love how you said that, earned my womanhood, because yes, it is not easy, and we do have to. We do have to earn it in a way, but I don't think we have to earn it for other people. We have to earn it for ourselves. It's like we have to come home and feel comfortable in ourselves is the most rewarding and beautiful thing, Yes.
And I think if it is performative, because you don't know who you are, I think it's very, I don't know, it's kind of soul crushing almost because you haven't figured out who you are. And I don't know, I can't imagine being performative at this point in my life. And the whole, I was thinking about Gillian Flynn's Cool Girl speech from Gone Girl, and I just think that would be so exhausting at this point in time. So
I've never read that or seen it. I know I should. It's kind of on my list.
I've seen it. I haven't read it, but I've read the speech from Goodreads or something, and I loved the speech in the film. But I think
Can you summarize this speech for us?
It's basically the cool girl is the ultimate compliment from receiving from men. And it's
that bullshit. Yes.
Yes, because you can eat like 10 hamburgers and still be a size 2, and you're basically there to give them blowjobs, and you're whatever they want, basically. You don't have, you are whoever their fantasy.
And
whatever
then you're
they're
so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
that performativeness is exhausting, and it's funny that you bring that up, because you know how you were saying when we're younger we kind of play into the virgin whore dichotomy. We kind of play into I think at a certain age, when a little older, maybe college age, we do tend to play into that cool girl thing, like, oh, look, I'm different from those other girls. Like, I've done that. I've been that girl where I'm like, no, I'm not like that, and I'm cooler because I don't do this and I don't do that. And it's like, it doesn't make you better than anybody.
No.
And that is just internalized patriarchy.
Yes.
And, it takes a lot of work to deconstruct that shit. But it also, I think, is part of just growing up. You kind of, I hope that most people, as women, as we get older, kind of are like, okay, thought doesn't even cross in our minds anymore, because we're kind of like, okay, why would I even base my value on what some fucking frat boy thinks of me? Like, I don't, like, it doesn't matter,
I think, like, that's one of the things, like, I like about, like, the writing community on Twitter is that there are so many, like, women that I can look to, and they know who they are, and they don't make any apologies for it. And I love that. Like, and they're all so different. Yeah.
We are all so different.
We are.
It is quite fascinating to observe everyone. And sometimes I do feel like things get a little repetitive, but not even just in writing Twitter, but all of Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Or social media in general, and part of it, I think, is the collective being connected. And then part of it is just what people love, the content that people love to take in and kind of eat up. And it's interesting. But yeah, it's beautiful to see so many. I love, one of my favorite people is seeing Roxane Gay when men come at her for some reason, and she's just like, just shut up. And she just like, seriously, just like shuts them down like so swiftly. And I'm like, yes, like she is the best at that. I kind of stopped. I used to like argue with people a lot, or like, if I'm catching up on current events, I'd respond to some guy being a total dick and like give my 2 cents. And then I'm like, they're not worth my energy. But then that happened to me the other day. I had all these guys coming at me, and it's kind of funny because I feel like it could have been worse. And I feel like I just sort of like repel that now. So I don't even engage like I used to. I really used to put way too much energy into that, and it's really not worth it.
No, I was the same. And then I found the mute button. And I felt so much better.
The mute button is my favorite.
Yes.
I don't block. I mute more than I block. I know a lot of people block, but
you have to be pretty heinous for me to block. Like, it has to be something about my own. I have to preserve my own mental health for you to be blocked. So
that's true.
Yeah,
it's like sometimes them just not being there at all. And mute does basically the same thing as a block. It's just that they can read your tweets, and I don't care if they read my tweets. I just don't. And they don't know.
I kind of feel like block can give people power in some cases. Like, again, if it's for my mental health, I don't care if you know if you're blocked, because I don't want you to exist in my world. But there are some where I'm like, oh, if they find out, they'll be thinking they have power over me. But no.
That is very true. I have thought that similarly about blocking people.
I saw something on Monica Lewinsky, which she totally ties into.
I saw this too. Thank you. I was just trying to remember. I was like, where did I see that somebody was saying that they love to block people? And it was Monica Lewinsky on John Oliver's show.
I didn't see her on John Oliver. I saw this
she
little
said
meme.
It somewhere else?
She has this meme on her Twitter today. I think she posted it today. It was like, blocking is beautiful and muting is something else. I can't remember what muting was, but it was, when I saw that, I was just like,
Definitely going to look right now.
Yeah. I really love her. I do think because
she's great.
She was treated so badly in the 90s. And
oh, yeah.
So, yeah. So.
Oh, my God. I love how her header is grateful as fuck.
Yes. I bow down to her.
She has such a positive, like, attitude for considering what she's gone through. I mean, holy shit, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I think she deserves mad respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a great example for this conversation of somebody that, like the virgin whore thing. Like, God, she made one mistake, and then she was just this absolute whore that everyone hated, and it's all her fault. And it's like, no one thought that, Bill Clinton had any kind of like thought or autonomy to be like, hey, maybe this shouldn't be happening right now. I mean, hello.
It's inappropriate. It's in the workplace.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Yeah. And
I'm
she
her
listens
boss.
to A Tribe Called Quest, so she's cool.
She's cool.
I don't see that thing that you were saying, but that's funny that she said that on there, because I actually heard her say that on, I think it's called Last Week Tonight with John Oliver.
Yes.
That show, he's great. I love him
Yes.
because he does so much like thorough research, and his team is just brilliant. Like the way they put things together, the way they come full circle with their reporting. I mean, they're brilliant. But he did you should watch it. He did an interview, or he did an episode about public shaming.
Okay.
And how it can be good and how it can be bad. So the public shaming that was good, the example was who recently, the people that bought their kids way into school.
Yeah.
That actor's daughter who was like had a YouTube, and she's like,
Lori
I don't really
Laughlin.
care about school. Yes, thank you. And her daughter's like, I don't really care about school. I just like want to go party. And then he's like, good, we should publicly shame this girl. But Monica Lewinsky's an example of someone we shouldn't have publicly shamed for forever. And so you should watch that episode. It was really good.
Okay.
And anyone else who's interested, he is hilarious and amazing. So
I think he puts his stuff on YouTube too, which is nice if you don't.
He does.
Have
He
HBO.
put clips. Yes, he does. He puts clips on of pieces of interviews. So I don't know if the Monica Lewinsky bit is on there, but I'm sure there's something on there regarding that topic.
Or maybe you're friends with HBO Go or something. That'll help you out.
Get your friends. That's what I have. I got the hookup for my friends, so everybody should get that.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I think that we are going to call it there.
Okay, cool.
It's been a wonderful hour of Speaking Goddesses with the lovely Marisa Silva Dunbar.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with me today. That was wonderful.
I love talking with you.
Yes, me too. And you know what? We're probably going to keep talking offline. So everyone listening, feel free to tweet us if you want to join us in conversation. I am Baddie Sam on all social media, BADDIESAM, which if you're listening to this, you probably know that. And Marisa is the sweet Maris, Maris. And so thank you all for listening, and I will see you next episode, and Marisa will see you on the socials. And so everyone have a beautiful, beautiful day, and we will see you next time, or, talk to you next time.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.